Vancouver was made a town in 1886, but it burned to the ground within a few weeks and had to be rebuilt. Then they made it a port city so that the first transcontinental train showed up the next year. Vancouver turned into a major economic powerhouse essentially overnight. We brought imports from Japan and so forth. Here's the first humble railway station. They replaced it with a big and fancy one that looked like a chateau. Then they soon replaced that with a Greco-Roman style building with lots of pillars. With all this money pouring in, they just tore down the existing station and replaced it. Here's another building downtown from that time with many Greco-Roman pillars. All of this is trying to show that Vancouver is a big, important city in the British Empire. Around this time, a special building was built. Tall and beautiful, it was able to showcase to the world the wealth of Vancouver. The Dominion building boasted being the tallest building in the British Empire at that time. So Vancouver was trying to put its name on the map in a big way. You can see some of the Greco-Roman aspects of the architecture. The building had a front porch supported by 2 pillars. This shows off that the building is ritzy and important. Vancouver has this tower that's the tallest structure in the British Empire. It sounds a bit like the Tower of Babel, right? Now guess what? It wasn't tall enough, so a few years later someone builds a higher tower in Vancouver. Now it will be the tallest tower in the British Empire. Vancouver keeps competing with itself for this status. There it is. It's called the Sun Tower. It's pretty impressive. It's got a dome on top of a dome. But as you get closer to the Sun Tower, you start realizing, they really brought in not only Greco-Roman art, but also accompanying ideas. Because look at this. Here are 8 bare-breasted women at the top, allegedly holding up this part of the building. There are 4 women here and 4 over there. These are some of the very few nude public sculptures in Vancouver. So the tallest building of the British Empire, full of Greek and Roman themes, includes naked women. And that's how it goes. That pride, that power, that chauvinism, that colonialism, and that objectification of women, all of that goes together. The Sun Tower, too, has 2 pillars at the front to show that they can make a grand porch. It's an impressive building. There's some beauty to it, I'm not going to lie. But guess what? It wasn't tall enough. In comes a 3rd building. So we had the Dominion building, then we had the Sun Tower, but now is the arrival of the Marine building. This building, completed in 1930, became the new tallest building in the British Empire. It was much taller than the Sun Tower, and they put so much money into it that, guess what? The stock market crash of 1929 totally bankrupted the investors. Just imagine what the bankruptcy will have done to the businessmen's families. Because the building looked so imposing, even though rent wasn't that expensive, many people didn't want to rent space in it, so it largely just sat there as this monument to ambition that did not work out. Here's the doorway. It's an impressive building. Look how much it dominated the entire landscape of Vancouver at that time. But today, here it is, nestled in between all these other buildings. It's not that tall anymore. This goes to show that you can have a lot of ambition, but what are you trying to do in life? Are you trying to make your name perpetuate forever? Well, if that's your goal, you're going to be overshadowed in a few decades by other monumental endeavors and new technology way beyond where you are at. I believe that these men did not have a solid ethical and spiritual foundation in their lives, because if they did, if they knew what the Bible teaches, they would not have been spending so much money on a tall building for no good reason, a building that they couldn't even fill. No, I believe they were following the path to alleged greatness set out by Socrates, Plato, and Alexander the so-called Great, who conquered the world. Such men sought to perpetuate their names forever through dubious, even diabolical means. King Jesus modeled and taught his followers first and foremost to serve others, including the lowly, even at personal cost, regardless of whether you get recognized. Not all communities in Canada were initially filled with such ambition, nor were they peppered with Greco-Roman architecture. In fact, many across Canada followed the teachings of King Jesus from early on. Now here's the thing, so much of what many of my fellow Canadians have become so proud of in the past few decades has actually gotten us off track. We're still doing this sort of name building in Canada. Here's how. Out of the Vancouver voting district came the political influence in federal politics that first promoted homosexuality in the 90s. It was out of Vancouver. It took root in politics. Then it was promoted until the point where even the so-called pride flag is in Parliament. We're also a world leader in medical murder. We have no cap on abortion of human life in uterus at any age, for any reason, anytime. At least the United States of America has a cap, saying this many weeks and then no more after that. We're also a world leader in killing the elderly and the sick. For many, these are values in Canada that we have become proud of, but these values come from the ancient Greek philosophers. The homosexual immorality from Socrates and Plato and others, the disregarding of life beyond the grave, and therefore the devaluing of life from Epicurus. What I'm aiming to do with this educational business is teach people to go back to the Bible, go back to what for many of us, our grandfather and grandmother, great-grandfather and great-grandfather used to read. It was the source of their values. If a new generation will focus on that rather than trying to build a name for themselves, they will look to simply do what's right. And they will also spend time with their families. They will create strong, happy families. That's important too.